If you've ever played any of the old Game Boy Pokemon games, you may have come across Pokemon FireRed version. It is a reboot of the old Pokemon game Red version. Me being in high school, I decided to go back to when I was younger and purchase the FireRed version. So I went to a nearby GameStop and looked in the used Game Boy games. I found a somewhat old-looking FireRed, but I decided to look elsewhere. I finally found one at a yard sale for $5, and thinking the buy was a steal, bought the game happily. The game cartridge was nice and new looking. Other than a minor few scratches, I turned the cartridge over to see if the label was correct. I noticed that there was some masking tape in place of the label. FireRed was written in black marker with the writing in the unknown language. The unknown is a type of Pokemon who are in different forms. Each unknown has a shape of a letter. Anyways, the masking tape had unknown spelling FireRed on it. Confused, I put the game in my old Game Boy Advance SP, continued to play. The Game Freak logo came up as normal, but the opening scene with the Gengar and Nidoran was missing. Figuring it was a simple glitch, I shook it off and continued. Everything was normal until I got to the starter Pokemon. Their Pokeballs were black and white instead of normal red and white. This disturbed me a bit, but I figured it could have just been the game glitching again. I continued playing and chose the odd-looking Charmander. I named it Blaze, which was the name I gave my old Charmander from my childhood. I got to the rival battle and sent out Blaze. The rival sent out a ghost, the type of ghost from Lavender Tower, which names escapes me. I attempted to harm the ghost, but after around 10 minutes of Blaze is too scared to move, I raged and switched off the Game Boy. After calming down, I went back to the game and switched the Game Boy back on, expecting to start a new game, because I did not save the first game I created. I was disturbed to see Blaze still in battle. Angrily, I kept trying to hit the ghost, but to no avail. Suddenly, the battle ended with neither of us winning. The screen went black for around 10 seconds, but I attempted to turn the Game Boy off. I switched it off, and thought it was finally off, but the Lavender Town music started up with a black screen. That music has always frightened me since I was a child, so it definitely was frightening to hear it so randomly. The screen slowly faded black, and it showed my Charmander being engulfed by the ghost's misty body. A deafening Charmander cry, at the lower pitch than normal, let out the tiny Game Boy speakers. The mist had swallowed on Charmander, and the whole screen was a pixelated ghost body. The screen again faded to black. By this point, I was crying slightly. I was always horrified at what I had bought. The Game Boy, which was still on, was 8 feet from me, because I had thrown it out of fear. Suddenly, the ghostly mist began seeping out of the screen and speakers. Terrified, I ran to the other side of the room, but the door was jammed. No way out. I stared horrifically at the growing mass of mist. I saw a movement within the cloud of mist, what looked like to be a tiny Charmander's hand. But there was something wrong with the hand. It was decayed and looked almost burnt. The hand reached out of the mist, and I saw the rest. It was Blaze, from my older game. He was holding the Everstone I had given him to keep him from evolving. Blaze slowly crept towards me. His eyes were non-existent, just empty sockets. His jaw broken and hanging. The flame on his bony tail was dark purple with the black core. Blaze was missing a lot of things. Parts of his tail, stomach, arms and legs. He weakly growled at me. I was completely paralyzed in fear. Blaze weakly held the Everstone before dropping it at my feet. That Everstone was never taken from him since I had gotten in the game. The Charmander's head slowly looked up at the Everstone and slowly looked back up to me. Every time this Charmander moved, cracking and ripping noises were heard. So seeing the decayed Pokemon slowly stare at me, scarring. You could have saved me. Instead, you gave up on me. I waited patiently for your return, Master. For 9 years I waited, Not a single thing to eat or do. I just waited. You quit using me to battle after a ghost in Lavender Town scared me. Why? We could have easily made it through the tower. But you gave up on me and left me for 9 years. Those ghosts in the tower terrorized me, hurt me. Did you see what they have done to me? I am no longer a happy, living, lovable Charmander. I have decayed, like how your heart has decayed. You didn't ever think of me. I was unwanted and useless to you. Those ghosts tormented me. The same way I was frightening you now. Why are you scared of me? You loved me unconditionally when you were younger. I am no different, other than my physical appearance. If you couldn't love me anymore, I am forced to make your fate the same as mine. Seeing as you were completely frightened how I appeared to you. At that point, I threw a large metal pole from my broken bed at the Charmander. This broke his jaw completely off. The Charmander somehow managed to speak again. My goodness, that hurt. I now see that you have no affection for me whatsoever. You want me gone. I see how it is. And now you too will see how I feel. At this point, Blaze slowly limped toward me, blood spilling from his gaping jaw. I could not escape. I was pushed into a corner. Blaze's eyes were actually blazing. A faint, sad-looking blue flame with each eye socket. I stared at the decayed creature, but I was too scared to scream. Blaze continued to limp towards me, arms open, as if asking for a hug. Love me! Why didn't you love me anymore, Master? Why can you not see that I have remained loyal? Love me! I pushed the Charmander away. Instead of stumbling back, he slid. It was unnatural. His feet remained on the ground. He slid backwards a bit. At this moment, the blade turned flaming red. Blaze turned to running quickly and grabbed my arm. He started to drag me closer into the cloud of mist. I was screaming, and the Blaze was crying loudly. I was finally dragged into the mist, and all I could see was white. A large flash of light occurred as I screamed. I shut my eyes lightly, but I soon woke up, lying on my bed with the game in the start menu. Instead of seeing the regular Charizard, I saw Blaze. He was not decayed. He was the same he was once. He was the same as he was since I played the red version. Alive. I quickly took the whole game in the Game Boy and threw them out upstairs window. After they were crushed and shattered, I took the pieces and burned them. The flame was purple and black, like the same color on Blaze's decaying tail. I took the ashes and put them in the lake, and now the lake is forever shrouded in the same white mist every day. No matter the weather, the mist is so thick you could cut it with a knife. Kids, don't lose your old Pokemon games.